Okay, in today's class, we are going to start a new topic, classes and objects. This is very important concept as Python also follows object-oriented programming structure as Java and C++ follow. So all the features which object-oriented programming language hold, all are held by Python also. So in this chapter, we will study all of them in detail. We will study designing classes, how to create objects, how to access attributes, built-in class attributes, and what is garbage collection. We'll discuss all these topics in this chapter. So let's move on. Object-oriented is a term used to describe the object-oriented approach for building software. In an object-oriented approach, the data is treated as the most important element and it cannot flow freely around the system. This approach binds the data and methods that will manipulate the data closely and prevents the data from being modified inadvertently. I'll tell you what does that mean. Basically, in a class, we bind together both data members and member functions. Means a class can contain simple variables of type int, float, char, string. In Python we use string, str, and member functions also, which we have studied in user defined functions, def, suppose sum, and then in parentheses we give arguments and then colon and the rest of the statements of a function. So all kinds of functions and data members can be grouped together inside a class where members manipulate these data members. That means we can access these variables by using functions, and this is also hidden from the outside world so that no changes can be made so easily as we done in a simple program. And moreover, classes and objects is a very important concept. Classes and object is a very important concept. All the sites that we use like Facebook, YouTube, etc. all provide object-oriented features because they have provided a platform which is used by several users, millions of users we can say, with the same platform. That means we have to design the platform like a class only once, and the objects that we create are basically the members of that class. Objects are basically users or members of the class. So the main features of object-oriented language are encapsulation, data hiding and abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and dynamic binding. Encapsulation means that I have already told you, data members and member functions are grouped together like a capsule. So this concept is called encapsulation. Data hiding and abstraction, that means only the fewer details are known to the user, outside user. All the finer details are hidden from the outside world or user. For example, when you drive a car, you just know how to drive it, but you don't know how its engine works. You don't know the basic or internal details of a car. How its engine works, we don't know. We just know the outer details, that how steering works or gearbox and all, but we don't know how its engine works. So that comes under abstraction. Similarly, when you if we talk about programming language, if you use square root function, which is built in math library, you just import this function and use it, but you don't know how it is being computed internally. So this thing is called abstraction, or we can say data hiding also, because its definition is hidden from the user. Next is inheritance. Inheritance means parent-child relationship, where we create new classes by inheriting features from the old classes. We will study all these in detail in the next chapter also. Polymorphism means overloading or overriding. Suppose if we use add plus operator to add two variables A and B. This add can also be used to add two objects, obj1 plus obj2. Means the form of writing the operation will be same, but it will add two objects rather than just two variables. This comes under overloading. And last one is dynamic binding. That means we can allocate memory dynamically and bind objects dynamically at execution time. So that concept is called dynamic binding or message passing also. Dynamic binding is, it refers to the linking of procedure call to the code to be executed in response to the call. Dynamic binding means that the code associated with a given procedure call is not known until the time of the call at runtime. That means only at runtime it is going to be known that which definition to be called. So that concept is called dynamic binding, just like function overloading. Just like Java, Python is also an object-oriented programming language. It possesses all the properties as described above. So let's go through its terminology of OOPS. What is a class? A class is a user-defined prototype that defines a set of attributes that describe any object of the class. The attributes are data members, class variables or instance variables, and methods accessed via dot notation. I'll tell you with programming illustration how to create a class. It is having two types of data. One is called data members, which includes two types of variables, class variables and instance variables. And other one is methods. That means functions that we create inside a class. Now, what is a class variable? A variable that is mutually shared by all instances of a class. Class variables are defined within a class, but outside any of the class methods. It is like a global variable which is defined inside a class. Maybe you have studied static data member in C++. The same concept is with the class variable. Class variable is same as that of static variable in C++. Next is method. A special kind of function that is defined inside a class, and it is defined inside a class. I already told you the member functions are called methods here in Python programming. Next is instance variable or data member. A class variable or instance variable that hold data associated with a class and its objects or an individual object of a certain class. For example, an object obj that belongs to a class triangle is instance of that class triangle. When we create a class, then we create its object. After that, we termed it as instance variable. Now, instantiation. The creation of an instance of a class is called instantiation. The time when we just declare a variable, that thing is called instantiation. Next is object, a unique instance of the user-defined data type class. An object comprises of both data members and methods. So now let's study how to design a class. A class is a basic entity of object-oriented programming language, and it is defined by using the keyword class. How to define it? We'll write class and then write class name. Whatever class name you want to mention over here. If you are creating a student class, you will write here student, and then you will write colon. In Python, you know that we mention colon in functions, in loops, in if statements, and in class we also mention here colon. And then there will be indentation, that means a tab space, and we write documentation string, just like we do in function definition. In order to specify what this class is going to perform, that we can mention in documentation string. And then again, with indentation, we'll provide the class details. Its data members and member functions are defined over here. So this is the journal syntax of a class. Next is That was syntax. Now see how to create a class in this program. First of all, we'll write, suppose I'm going to create a class student. So I'll write keyword class and then write the class name student and then put colon. And then in the documentation string, I'll write a student class just to mention that this class is about student. And this is called class variable. Class variable is, you can write any name. Here we have mentioned stu count. That means it will count how many times the objects are created. And we have initialized it to 0. It is known as class variable. It is not in the private section or public section. There are no such sections, visibility modes here. Everything is private over here. So you can access every data member by using the dot operator. There is another concept, different concept as that of C++. So this is just like static data member and you term it as class variable. And then we'll write init method. This is initialization or constructor method. This method is mandatory in every class that we declare. Without this, the class program will not work. So you need to mention this init method and you will start it with def keyword. Def, then 2 underscores init, again 2 underscores, and then we'll pass the arguments. The first argument will be self. This is mandatory. You have to write self, and then rest of the variables which are known as class instance variables or data members of a class over here, name and roll number. And how you will use them, then put semicolon, then put colon, and with indentation you will write self.name is equal to name, self.roll number is equal to roll number. That means whatever user passes the value of name and roll number will be copied to class variables name and roll number, its data members. And then we'll increase the student count to 1. Fine, in order to making counting how many objects are created. The next is def display count self. Again, you need to give self as an argument over here and then colon. Self is mandatory in every function definition. You need to remember this. In init, in any user-defined function like display count, you need to write one argument which is mandatory self. And here you will print the statement, print total number of students are student.stuCount. Fine, where student is the class name and stuCount is the class variable. Class variable is accessed with class name. And then def display student self. Now here I'll display the values of name and roll number, which will be displayed as name colon self dot name and roll number colon self dot roll number. Here how we can access the value of name and roll number by using the dot operator. Fine. So this is how you declare a class. Here are no braces like C++ or Java. We need to mention everything with colon and indentation. So just you can take screenshot of this screen also in order to understand how to create a class, where init method is mandatory and self argument is also mandatory in every function definition. Next is creating objects. Now once we have created a class, now I need to create object. How to create object? We'll mention the object name. This is journal syntax. Object name is equal to class name and then argument list. Suppose in the previous program we have 2 arguments. Here I will specify 2 arguments in the argument list. Now this is the illustration. I have created 2 objects. Stu1 is equal to student. This is the class name, and in parentheses I'm giving the value John for name and 111 for roll number. That means I'm giving 2 arguments which will be put inside init method, which is initialization method. Similarly, second object is created stu2 and student with the name Clara and 112. So this is how we can create objects in Python. Next is accessing attributes. Attributes can be accessed with dot operator. Stu1 dot display student, stu2 dot display student. So this will display the data of student 1 and student 1 and student 2 respectively. Then student dot stuCount displays how many objects are created. Here the answer will be 2. Now we see the complete program in one go. How to write the complete class program, you can see over here. The same program I have written with all together, object name and all. Class student is created first with stu count 0. This is constructor, and then display count and display student. After that, here we have created two objects, stu1, stu2 with these arguments, and then we have called these functions. We have called these functions stu1 dot display student, stu2 dot display student, and at the end, by using the class variable, we can display total number of objects created. Student dot stu count. You need to remember this. Class variable is called by using the class name dot and then class variable, whereas functions are called by using object names. These are objects. Stu1 and stu2 are objects. Fine. So this is how class can be created in a Python language. This is the output. John, roll number, name John, roll number 111, name Clara, roll number 112, and total number of students are 2. So you can see over here, when this object is created, stu1, let me tell you how it is being called. You don't need to mention main function as we do in C++ or Java. Stu1, student John 111, then call will go here and put John in name and 111 in roll number. And then these values will be assigned and student count will be increased by 1. Initially it was 0, now it will become 1. Now it will go back and student 2 will be created with name Clara and 112. Then these values will be assigned over here. Then student count will be increased by 2. After that, we are calling stu1 dot display student. The control will go over here and display the output. Name is John, roll number is 111. Because it is called by stu1, so it will display values of student 1 only. Then stu2 dot display count, then it will display the value of student 2, which are Clara and 112. And at the end, I want to see how many students are created. That can be done by using class name dot class variable name, student dot stu count. So this is very simple. I hope you understand this program. Now using a class with input. In the previous program, we have just initialized the values. We have passed the values just like constructor. What if I want user should input the value? Then it can be done in a simple way. The change is only over here. In the init method, we'll write self.name is equal to input enter student name. That means here we are taking input of student name and that will be assigned to name. Similarly, self.roll number input enter student roll number. So user will input roll number, some value of it, and that value will be assigned to roll number. Fine, and then student count will be increased. So rest of the program will be same. And over here, while creating objects, the parenthesis will be empty. There will be no argument because we are taking input from the user. So when stu1 is equal to student, this object is created. Control will go over here and ask for the input of name and roll number. We'll come back and then student 2 is equal to student. This object will be created and call this method again. And then name and roll number will be input again. And similarly for third object. Fine. And then by using stu1 dot display student, stu2 dot display student, and for student 3, the value can be displayed. And total number of students will be displayed by using student dot stu count. So this is how we can take input from the user. And input will be taken inside the init method. Or you can also see here we have passed only self argument. Other arguments like name and roll number are not mentioned because we are taking the input from the user. So this is how we can create class by using only constructor method and by taking input from the user. I hope you understand up to this point. Let's move further. Now we'll study class with some computation. The earlier program was just input and output. Now if we want to perform some computation in a class, how to do it? Let me show you so that you can create more programs with computation also. See, I'm going to create a class inventory. Inventory means to create a bill to maintain inventory in a store. So class name is inventory with colon. This is just documentation string. And here we have created two class variables. Item count is equal to 0 and total bill is also 0. Because we'll compute the total number of items purchased by a user or buyer and total bill. Initially, we have set it to 0 because initially there is no bill and no item purchased. And in the init method, we are mentioning self as it is by default. We need to mention it. And then there are three items in the store. Let's suppose item. No, there are three variables that we need to for performing computation, which are item, price, and quantity. Fine. So how to do this? Self item is equal to item, self price is equal to price and quantity also. And then once we'll get all these values, we can perform the total. Total can be obtained by multiplying price into quantity of a certain item. And then it will be added to the total inventory bill. Inventory dot total bill is equal to plus is equal to self total. Fine. So this will compute the total bill. And inventory dot item count plus is equal to 1 will count the number of items purchased. And in the next function, display item will display all the items to be purchased. Print item name self dot item, price self dot price, and quantity self dot quantity, and then at last total will be displayed. So see, we have created three objects. I1 is equal to inventory, soap, with price 30.5 and quantity 4. Then the control will go over here. Item is soap, price is 30.5 and quantity is 4. Then item name is assigned over here, price, and then quantity. Now we'll compute total. I am writing in short, S dot T is equal to self dot price. Price is 30.5 into quantity is 4. So whatever will be the answer will be computed and assigned to total. Let's suppose it is 120. I'm just guessing it. Let's suppose it 120. And then inventory bill will be, total bill will be 120 plus 0. Because initially total bill is 0. So bill is computed to 120 only right now. And item count is set to 1 because we have purchased only one item till now, which is soap. And then control will come back. Now second object will be created, shampoo. It will go up and assign the values. Then the price of shampoo will be computed. Total is equal to self dot price, which is 130.5 into, and the quantity is 2. You can see over here 2. So let's suppose its price is 260. I'm skipping the floating part. I'm just adding it, multiplying it. Now inventory dot total bill plus is equal to self dot total. Now the initial bill was 120. Now 260 will be added to it. 0, 8 and 3. Up to this 380 bill is computed and the item count is increased to 2. Now third object is created, oil, with these values. Control will go up again. Now price will be 80.5 into item is 1. So only 80.5. Now this will be added to the total bill. Initially it was 380. See, 380 plus 80.5. So it will be 460.5. Fine. So this is, and the item count will be increased by 1. Now it will be 3. So this is how a total bill can be computed, and the total item count is also computed. After that, we are displaying the item simply. I1 dot display item, I2 dot display item, and I3 dot display item. It will display the items, and item count will be displayed as 3. So let's see the output. What is the output of this program? Output will be displayed in this manner. First of all, first item will be displayed with its price, quantity, and total. After that, shampoo, and in the end, oil. And in the end, total bill is computed as 463.5, and the number of items are 3. So this is how you can compute a bill by using a class program. This is just for 3 objects. When you go to some supermarket like Easy Day or anything, then by such procedure, your total bill is computed. Okay, students, this is how you can perform computations on a class program also. I hope you understand up to this point. Next topic we'll do in the next class.